Well, hello, mes patrons. It is I, Bill, and I am here for Wisdom Wednesday. Today, I'm going to walk through the process for fleshing out NPC descriptions. Join me, won't you? Okay, so I am going to be using some of the Lagoch NPCs to illustrate my examples for how I try to flesh out NPCs to make them a little more multi-dimensional, a little more descriptive, and a little bit easier for DMs to be able to imagine and thus be able to describe to players. So on the Lagoch region NPCs, I started this process with the first one here that was just listed alphabetically. Now, we have chosen to kind of list off basic traits that could be transferred to any gaming system, really. So at first we have Adissa Hart, an herbalist, race and gender, human, female, class and level. Instead of putting class and level, we have trace persona. So what I'm going to do is change that. Even though I don't want to get rid of that description because it's important, dear Lord. Class and level would be Druid 1. Druid level 1. But I need to have some other kind of additional notes in here. And I think the additional notes should be something to describe who this person is. So next to Adissa Hart herbalist, I'm going to have trace persona in italics. Okay, so then we get to the description. In description, I want to have a very precise physical description. So initially it was just like a shorter thing. Like here under Appius Gala, 43 years old, 6'2", 180 pounds, blue eyes, blonde hair, strikingly handsome with a chiseled body, wears a toga. And that's a short description, but I think a longer description can also help a DM as well as the players to get a better visual for who this person is. Now, in another perfect world, there'd be an illustration of this person. And the reason why a longer description also helps is because it helps the artist, if you're going to have art, it helps the artist envision what this person could or should look like. So I embellished on the original description for Adissa. Adissa appears as an elderly woman with long, stringy gray hair that used to be brown, with kind brown eyes and crow's feet from smiling so often. Her smile is friendly, but it is evident that she is missing more than a few teeth, which impacts her speech a bit. She's average height for a human, about 5'3", with a slight build weighing around 95 pounds. Her typical attire is drab brown and green traveling clothes, full of patches and only a notch up from a homeless beggar. There are stains on her fingers from mixing herbal remedies and tinctures, and she smokes a pipe with fragrant cherry tobacco. So that's a little bit more embellished description, and I think in embellishing the description, it really helps us to visualize who this person is. Then the next block, I'm going to refer to this as a stat block, even though there aren't really numbers, but the next block is personality. Adissa is a friendly but eccentric person who isn't shy about selling her wares and services. She can be truthful with people to the point of being blunt, but she always ends her statements with a smile or a friendly laugh. Friendly and helpful, offering herbal remedies for a pittance. Motivations. Adissa appears to be a selfless person with a kind heart who just wants to be helpful. Trace's true motivations while acting as Adissa are to keep tabs on new people in town, especially those in need of remedies. And then notes. This is the divergent persona which Trace developed when she learned to use an herbalism kit. She often uses this persona to scout new areas, locations around town, or newcomers. She appears to be a harmless street vendor. Now there's something that I feel we're missing a little bit here that I want to include, and that is the basic ability descriptors. Okay, so I'm going to say in the under the notes section, physical abilities are below average. Strength, dexterity, constitution. Mental abilities are average. Intelligence and wisdom. Social abilities are below average. Charisma. Now, here's the funny thing. Since this is a persona, these are not the real ability attribute scores for trace. Okay, so I'm going to copy that style, and I'm going to apply that to every other NPC that I flesh out. So I think this is going to become important. Formatting is one of those things that I like to do as I'm going along, but in reality, I'm going to probably have to go back and reformat everything. So I just want to have some consistency. So the first three kind of stat blocks should be consistent. So and I still am not happy with Mooxhu persona or trace persona being listed for class and level. So this should be a cleric. Cleric level 3. I mean, and I don't know if I like trace persona being up there either. So maybe I need to have something else before description. True identity. Trace. Maybe that's something that I have to have. True identity. Because that's going to be something that is important here. So that I'm going to do after class and level. Or maybe that's even first. Shit, I don't know. True identity. Mooxhu. Yeah, maybe I gotta have that up there. True identity trace. Yeah. So it's gonna go true identity, race, gender, class level, and description. And then personality, motivations, notes, and attributes. And I might end up rearranging this, but you could see just based on what I've done at this first page how much more significant this NPC becomes, and then add in an illustration. And maybe even there's other things that you guys have ideas for in terms of fleshing things out. Now, you know, there's a fine line between creating an NPC and creating a full character sheet. And I think for some NPCs it's smart to do that, especially if there's going to be a lot of interaction and potential combat or conflict with the PCs. But I think for an NPC, just having the basic understanding of who that person is, what they can do, that's important. So somewhere in addition to attributes, I need to have something that is inclusive of abilities. And I'm just going to call it abilities. And this way it transcends any game system. So herbalism, medicine, nature, insight, appraisal, persuasion, bargaining. Okay, so there you go. those could be, swapped out with anything, right? So that's gone from something that was a third of the page to something that basically takes up the full page. And I think it also provides the DM with a lot more descriptive information about the NPC and what they can do, which again is important. If you're providing NPCs for your gaming world for DMs, you got to go into your own brain and figure out how you describe all this stuff. Let's deal with Appius Gala, priest of Alden, god of earthly pleasures and excess. So I don't even know if that's a real god. I think that's something that DoD or Topo made up, but that's fine. So we have description: 43-year-old, 6'2", 180 pounds, blue eyes, blonde hair, strikingly handsome with a chiseled body, wears a toga. Let's add to that description. So I'm just gonna meow that. Let's say Appius is a middle-aged man in fantastic physical shape. He is about 43 years old. And I want to kind of be consistent, so I'm going to go back to Adisa. Yeah. With a muscular build. He is 6'2" and 180 pounds, with blue eyes, long, wavy, blonde hair, and a strong jawline. He typically wears a white toga. His teeth are peculiarly straight and pearly white, nearly perfect. He typically wears a white toga with simple leather sandals. I feel like there should be one more thing in his physical description that can set him apart from other priests of Alden. Clasping. His toga is clasped. His toga is clasped together with a small iron symbol which appears to be phallic in nature.
Okay, so Mr. G couldn't do anything for me. I have to go to the nurse and tell her I want to be in here. It's
Okay.
annoying. The nurse will see you on T if you ask Mike to. She'll probably say no. Did you submit it?
Yep.
And did you watch other schools?
Yes.
Are we the best?
Yes.
Wait, for interviews or for final, applications?
I'm not sure. Appius is a middle-aged man in fantastic physical shape. He is about 43 years old with a muscular build. He is 6'2" and 180 pounds with blue eyes, long wavy blonde hair, and a strong jawline. His teeth are peculiarly straight and pearly white, nearly perfect. He typically wears a white toga with simple leather sandals. His toga is clasped together with a small iron symbol, which appears to be phallic in nature. Now, why would I put that in? Because number one, it's funny. It's a penis joke. Number two, it makes sense because he's, a priest of the god of earthly pleasures and excess. So, carnal pleasures. I'm also thinking as I look at this description that he is not level 3. He should be like level 5. Maybe even higher. I might revisit that. But, you know, somebody who's in their mid-40s and is an active priest, you know, should be mid-level. We might even bump that up to 7 or 8, but we'll see. Personality, welcoming, but with a remarkable intensity of gaze, like he's looking into your soul. Now that's a nice description, but let's expand on that. Appius is always very friendly and welcoming. And he is particularly fond of physical contact. He often greets people with a smile and a deep hug, followed by a kiss on each cheek. I think that describes a little bit more of how the personality works with interactions, with social interactions. And I think that is also valuable, also important. He is very open about his pansexuality and is not afraid to invite newcomers to participate in any of the temple activities and carnal explorations. When not directly interacting with people, he has a remarkably intense gaze, as if he's studying everyone and everything around him. Motivations, spread the faith. Appius is motivated to spread the faith first and foremost. He is much like a master of ceremonies wherever he goes, encouraging people to free themselves of their burdens and enjoy the gifts of the flesh. He seeks out all sorts of pleasures himself and includes how do I want to say this? And includes and considers there's all physical experiences to be important, including pain and suffering. I feel like that little bit of additional description will also kind of add to how this NPC can be played, if you understand his motivations. Notes: this is a mature version of the persona Mooxhu created when he first entered the priesthood. He is responsible for setting up the earthly pleasures shrine in Lagoch and presides over the bacchanals held there each new moon. Occasionally seen in various recreational spots around Lagoch, encouraging drinking, gambling, and pleasure of the flesh. That's actually pretty full notes. Alright, physical abilities are above average. Strength, dexterity, and constitution. Mental abilities are average. Social abilities are highly above average. Charisma. Abilities would include persuasion, insight, religion, I think those would pretty much cover it. So there you have something much more fleshed out than what we had previously. And again, just by adding some sentences in there, some descriptive paragraphs, we have a much stronger description.